Welcome to the Elk Talk Podcast with Randy Newberg and Corey Jacobsen. Presented by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
The goal is what little you and I know about elk hunting, we share with people.
I've got an elk building. It's like 120 yards away. What do I do? First off, the thought would never cross my mind when an elk's being 120 yards away to call anybody on a cell phone.
All elk?
All the time? Only elk?
Only elk.
Well, it's us having conversations. So we usually go down some rabbit holes, but
If you hunt with Corey Jacobsen, you will find the landscape is full of rabbit holes. We're just going to make this up as we go.
and you look at it like, oh, that's a target-rich environment. But if you're trying to single one out, a solo target there is much easier to go into than a big group.
We record everything, so there's no BSing, no lying, no faking it with us.
Did we hit the record
I
button?
thought I forgot to hit the record button. If you want to know something about elk hunting, this probably isn't the podcast to listen to. Should we give them a list of all the other podcasts where they might learn something?
Corey, what brings you to Bozeman, Montana in late September?
The peak rut.
400-inch bulls,
That's
right?
right. If anybody's going to find one, you've got to start in Bozeman, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, all 400-inch bulls in America have their genesis here in Gallatin County.
It's in the DNA. Has to be.
You suppose people think we're serious when we say that stuff?
There definitely was a time when not everyone, but a majority of the people that you ran into from Bozeman talked about seeing a 400-inch bull. Yeah. So that's where the sarcasm comes from.
I need to catch up with that because I don't think I've ever seen a 370-inch bull.
Well, there may have been some liberties in the storytelling that were taken. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay. So today you've talked me into doing what I talked you into doing for the 4 weeks of archery season.
It's only fair for our listeners if we have a breakdown of rifle season.
So where do we want to start? Because the only state that has general elk hunting from October 1st to about October 15th is Montana, and that's archery hunting.
Oh, yeah.
Most other states, if you're hunting then, it's with a muzzle loader or a rifle on a limited entry tag.
Yep.
So do we want to start with the fact that the peak rut is still going on in the first part of October?
Yeah, I think it can apply, I would say, through about the 10th of October.
Okay.
Yeah, and it varies. I mean, we've had bulls screaming on the 5th. We've had bulls screaming on November 2nd before.
Right.
So you can't really put it into one box. But generally speaking, I think October 5th through the 10th, somewhere in there is where the peak rut tapers off and you go into the post-rut.
Right.
So if somebody is hunting October 1st through the 5th, 8th, 10th, somewhere in there, I would say listen to the last episode, which talks about the peak rut, because it's going to be very similar.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Go back and listen to the last archery episode we did and hunt them the same way.
Yeah, which I'm hoping is the case, because I leave tomorrow morning to hunt Montana, and I'm hoping to take advantage of some peak rut hunting. So.
Well, one of the good things if you are in Montana is that first week of October, the last few days of September, there's not many people out doing that. And the elk are still pretty darn active.
Yep.
So, but all the 400-inch ones, I think, got a victory lap in an F-150.
Oh, yeah.
They're gone. Yep. There'll be a new crop next year.
Yep. They won't grow in time for me to shoot one this year, but by next year they'll be back. So everyone applying next year, have hope.
Yeah. Well, it's just coincidence that you and I happen to be in Bozeman on the same afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I'm gone tomorrow morning. You're gone tomorrow morning.
But you're going a lot farther than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully my truck doesn't break down on the way there.
Mine broke down.
It did?
Yeah, we were up till midnight last night. I talked Sam into fixing it for me.
Really?
Ball joints went out.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I have a lift on it, so they're custom upper control arms. So pressing the ball joints out and then pressing the new ones in turned out to be a chore. Sam spent 11 hours yesterday working on the
what's
truck.
his hourly shop rate?
He tried telling me they charge $170 an hour. I told him that the lodging fees went up at our house recently. And
Yeah. There's plus just the interest on his room and board as a teenager. We'll call it even.
But he loves working on trucks. He was supposed to be working on his truck yesterday.
Yeah.
And I apologized to him he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Be working on your truck or my truck. And he never complained. 11 hours. You should have seen the cheater bar he had.
Really?
He had a 6-foot piece of exhaust that he was using on the, whatever the press is, the ball joint press. I bet he did 400 or more push-ups on that thing, just chest presses. And
wow.
Yeah, he's going to be sore today.
Yeah. Huh. Well, it's nice to have someone who's handy like that.
That is.
If there isn't a shop nearby, I'm not getting any further down the road.
I wouldn't have done it.
Wow. Anyhow, a lot of folks had requested after listening to the archery stuff that we do this for rifle season.
Yeah.
So the rifle seasons, I always break them out into Post-Rut for the most part, which is like October 12th to 15th-ish through about the end of the month. And then late season is anything. I always use like November, the first part of November when late season starts, but it's really not a time on the calendar. It's mostly when the bulls gather up again into bachelor groups.
And it's almost a weather event. Sometimes it triggers that the cows go into full-time feeding mode. Yep. The bulls come out of their hiding security sanctuaries and they start feeding, it seems like.
Yeah. So you can kind of use late October, early November for the transition from post-rut to late season. But the real indicator is when you start seeing groups of bulls, you know you're in late season.
Yeah.
Because in post-rut, they leave the cows and they go solo.
By themselves, the bigger bulls. You know, sometimes you'll see those younger bulls together, but those big bulls, and I'm excited to talk to you. Because I remember I called you 10 years ago and said, I'm taking Isaac rifle hunting and I don't have a clue how to find elk if they aren't bugling. What do I do? And I was thinking the same thing last week. Elk are so much easier to find when they bugle. Yeah, you just get on a ridge and bugle, and if one answers, you know he's there. If no elk answer, I assume there's no elk there and I move on.
Right.
Rifle season, you don't have that luxury.
No, you don't. And that's where, depending on where you're hunting in this post-rut period, when these bulls, the older bulls, leave the cows, they'll leave the raghorns and the 5 points to the cows. It's like, you know what? It's not worth getting killed over this, Many a good man has died of lead poisoning by hanging around these cows too long, and I don't want to be that guy. Yep. So depending on where you hunt, the tactics and strategies you employ are going to be different. And so a lot of what we'll talk about here are general ideas. Yeah. But really, really thick timber, say northern Idaho, northwest Montana, central Idaho, maybe parts of western Wyoming, post-rut elk hunting is difficult. Yeah. Because you can't see anything. And, they could be anywhere in this big mass of dark timber. Your opportunities, your windows will be very, very low in the morning when they might still be out on the edge feeding, or they come out later in the evening, just that last 10, 15, 20 minutes. So it does make for good napping time because there's not a whole lot going on. Now, you get to places like southwest Montana, eastern Montana, eastern Wyoming, places where there's more open country, and it's just a whole lot easier. Yeah. Places in Colorado. And then you get down to the southwest states, the four corner states of New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Nevada. Some of those elk aren't even migratory. So we can get into the migratory versus non-migratory thing in a little bit. But as a general rule, we're talking about elk that do some migration. Yeah. And this year, the September's been ridiculously warm. And if this continues...
It's 85 degrees today. It's September 28th today. Yeah. 85 degrees here in Bozeman.
That's crazy. Yeah. And so that complicates, as much as we talk about heat really messes up archery season with the full moon especially, hot weather in the post-rut is so frustrating. Yeah. Because these bulls, they go bury themselves somewhere, and they have no reason to get up other than they just, if they like a sauna and want to sweat, they would get up.
But they don't.
They don't. So
let's back up just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about Post-Rut.
Post-Rut.
In this episode.
Yep.
October 10th, 12th, somewhere in there through the end of October.
Yep.
Opening day in a lot of states there's some units in Idaho that are October 10th for general season. Most of them, it's October 15th. Wyoming, most of Idaho.
Yep.
Montana is
always the last Saturday in October.
Yeah, so they're a little later. Mm-hmm. But most of what rifle over-the-counter general hunts is going to be mid-October.
Yeah. Colorado second season opened, I don't know, October 20-something this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if somebody is choosing a time
Mm-hmm.
during the month of October to go,
Mm-hmm.
should they wait towards the end of October and hope to catch a little bit of the late season starting where the elk are starting to come out more? Or should they make sure they're there the day before opening day and capitalize on opening day?
Yeah, depends on how much time you have in your calendar. Opening day, a lot of elk get killed because the smart guys and gals come 2 or 3 days early and they're patterning these bulls. And they know, like, okay, I found this guy. He's living in this little pocket down here. I'm going to kill him opening morning.
Or you might catch the tail end of some rut activity and
Right.
still get some bugling. And it seems like
Yep.
opening day, a lot of times in the morning, you'll hear bugles.
Yep.
The second day of season, it'll be silent out there. And the elk just know. Those gunshots go off, bugling season's over.
Yeah. So if you're coming in the first part of the post-rut period, I always say do your hunting before opening morning and do your killing opening morning. In other words, the time you're going to invest scouting and finding a bull, learning his pattern, and hopefully doesn't get messed up by some other hunters who are doing the same thing you are, because if they stumble into him, he's going to move. And so you're going to show up opening morning, like, where'd he go? So it's a very effective tactic, but once the shooting starts, the whole deck of cards gets reshuffled.
Yep.
And so you got anywhere from a week to 10 days before they kind of start building and establishing another pattern that becomes a little more predictable. Yep. So I know a lot of people say, no, I got to be there on the 15th. It's where I put in for my vacation time. It's whatever. So if you do that, I would give up a day on the end of my hunt for an extra day of scouting and patterning an elk. And, these are public land bulls. These are highly pressured elk who they've already been called to for 6 weeks or maybe a month. They've smelled a lot of things. And if this is a 4.5 or older bull, he's
already survived 4 seasons or more.
Yeah.
And he knows the game that starts on October 15th.
Exactly. And so if you get a warm weather period like we're having right now, these in the hills, you got these migratory elk where the summer range is up high, winter range is down low. And in the post-rut and late season, they're going to be somewhere on that transition range between that takes them down from the summer range to the winter range. But when it's unseasonably warm, they're going to be way up high. And we always talk about how in September they go bed in the dark timber, usually on a north, northeast, northwest face. They're going to do the same thing when it's that hot. And you might have had, let's say, and I'll use an example, like in Colorado, I had a tag that opened like October 15th or something like that. And it was hot weather like this. Well, it was long hike in there. It took us 8 or 9 hours with llamas to get in there, and we're going past camp after camp after camp. And then we got up really high and there was nobody there. And I shot a bull opening day, and then I come down and everyone's like, where'd you find that thing? And I'm like, way up there. And like, man, we hunt here, 3 out of every 4 years, we get them. Well, the reason that is 3 out of every 4 years is probably a normal weather year, and those elk are down kind of where those guys were hunting. We were another 2,000 feet elevation above them, and that's where the elk were. There were ridiculous numbers of elk up there. But my point of all that is in this post-rut period, you're already dealing with highly pressured elk that are trying to recoup, trying to stay alive, a lot of hunting pressure. And then if you get warm weather, I don't want to encourage anyone to stay home and watch football because you might get, a honey-do list thrown on your lap. But that's
and definitely don't watch football if you're a Vikings fan, right?
No, don't do that.
That's never
But then, to the other part of your question, if you get later in October, the weather's probably going to be cooler. You got a chance for maybe some of these bulls are saying, I got to start eating more. So they're going to be out a little later in the morning. They're going to come out a little earlier in the afternoon. And it is a glassing game. And I know, I hear it from guys up in northwest Montana or up in northern Idaho. They're like, it's not a glassing game for me because there's nothing, you can't glass. Well, that's very hard hunting. And they say, what would you do? I'm like, I go hunt somewhere else. That's what I usually tell them. And I say that kind of jokingly, but if you're in a situation like that, what's the accumulating factor? What is going to cause a bull to be somewhere on that day? And that's when we get into sanctuaries. People hear me talk about sanctuaries all the time. And a sanctuary can be many things, but I always say it is a area of low hunting pressure, either adjacent to or surrounded by an area of higher hunting pressure. Well, what creates higher hunting pressure and lower hunting pressure? Well, higher hunting pressure is closer to roads, trails, easy going, not that far away from a trail. Big chunks of public land where, don't got to worry about private boundaries, none of that. And then the inverse of that is what's a sanctuary then, or what creates low hunting pressure? Distance, topography, boundaries, like might be a state boundary, might be a unit boundary where it's a controlled hunt in one area and a general unit right next door. And a lot of people are like, I just don't want to hunt that boundary because, they're going to run over to that closed area. Could be a public-private boundary. It could be blow down and beetle kill. There's a lot of things that create lower hunting pressure. And it's usually the place where a hunter looks at it and says,
I don't want to go there.
I don't need an elk that bad. Yeah. Well, that group of hunters who year after year defy the 10 or 15% odds, and they get their bull on public land in general units every year, those are the guys and gals who have figured out where the other people don't want to go.
Yeah.
And that's, if there's one simple part to this whole post-rut period, it's go where other people don't want to go. And some people say, well, there's not much food there. There's not much water there. You're right. There usually aren't in these sanctuaries. Yep. But this bull has lived through enough season to say, well, I got 10 to 15 days here that if I can live through this, I got pretty smooth sailing. Yep. And so they have these places where year after year that they've learned from other elk and other bulls. All right, there's enough food there. I can get through. There's a little bit of water. I can go water 300 yards away in the dark, and I'm just going to stay here.
Yep. So they don't have to move very far at all for feed, water, and bedding.
Right.
They just aren't leaving tracks out there. So you have to know where they are. If you're glassing and are able to see that opening, you've got to watch it all day and just going to catch a glimpse first thing in the morning, last thing at night.
Yeah, that is really what it's going to be in this post-rut period. And that's why states like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, why they can throw so much rifle hunting pressure out there in the post-rut.
Yep.
Because it's the hardest time in the entire year, the entire calendar season, to kill a bull elk on public land. And I know a lot of people don't like to glass. But without snow, without the benefit of just good luck, it's a lot of time. Okay, I'm going to hike in here. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to glass this as my morning spot. And then the sun's going to change. I'm going to move over here 3/4 mile. I'm going to have sun on my back. I'm going to glass that as my evening spot. And so a lot of people think from videos that every rock I sit down on, somehow I glass up an elk. A lot of times they don't see the 12 other places I'd stopped and glassed before.
Or the previous 3 seasons that took you to find that one rock where you do see elk.
Exactly. So
back up just a minute.
Yep.
We talked about hunting pressure, hot weather, the changing of the rut into post-rut. What about full moon?
Full moon. I have never really noticed the difference. They
don't go to bed earlier because they're already going to bed early anyway. So
well, okay, I'm going to fess up. In Wyoming, we were hunting it was the day of the full moon. Not a cloud in the sky. We didn't need headlamps or anything. And Jace, my camera guy, he thought he heard like some faint bugle. It's October 15th or 16th. I don't know. You're hearing things, man. Well, we start walking in there, and in the moonlight, we glass a herd of elk in this grass. And they were out of there before the sun came up. I mean, it's just one of those big openings that has like that yellowish white grass. In the moonlight, it almost looks like snow. Yeah. I mean, we could see them there. They were moving out of there well before legal shooting light. Yeah. So I don't know if that was because it was full moon or what, but
they've probably done it on a new moon as well.
Yeah.
So this year's full moon, it's got to be like the 6th, somewhere in there of October.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
By the 15th or so, you're getting into pretty good moon phase. So if full moon was a factor, it should be pretty good for most of the month of October after the 10th or 12th, which is the period we're talking about.
Yeah. And I got to hunt whether the moon's full or new or quarter or waning or waxing or whatever. But even in a new moon phase, if it's a new moon on October 15th or 16th, they're still heading to their beds really early. And one of the things, if you know they are there, they will get up every 4 or 5 hours and move 10, 20 feet just for some different shade, or just you'll see them nibbling a little bit on something that's growing in there. And then they'll bed down again. You're like, where did I'm sure I saw an elk there. But, these sanctuary areas are not big areas in this post-rut period. And if you get the benefit of an early snow, oh man, the cows are going to come lower at the first snow, and the bulls are going to stay higher. A bull will stay up there 20, 24 inches of snow. He'll still try to tough it out, but it'll show you tracks. And if you find those cows, just know that if you're finding cows in migratory elk, the bulls are going to be up above them. So I always hunt my way up. Yeah. Like the first day I might start down here. I'm not seeing cows. I'm not seeing anything. I keep going. Oh, I ran into some cows. Man, they're even higher than I thought. And so sometimes if you try to hunt from the top and find them working your way down, they're moving down faster than you are. And so you never kind of get to that elevation of where they're at. So I always start a little bit lower and work my way up. And if you do find a sanctuary, don't tell your brother-in-law or your co-worker or your boss where it is, because these bulls use those year after year after year. And if you tell everybody, well, now that area that was low hunting pressure is an area of higher hunting pressure, and they figure that out.
So if you bump a bull out of his sanctuary mid-October, late October, how far is he going to go?
A long ways.
He's not just going to go over the ridge and find another little clump of north-facing timber to bed in. He's going to the next safe place.
Yeah, that is one thing I would say about post-rut bulls compared to, say, peak rut or pre-rut bulls. You can bump them and they'll move, but you got to really have spooked them to get them to move a long ways. Yeah. Here, they're like, I know what this means. And they'll move somewhere. That day, they might only move a little ways, like half mile. But that night, they're moving even further. You got to think about, if you are a bull elk that you've now spent, say you're 5 years old, you've spent 1,500 days in this little part of the world.
Staying alive.
You know if a limb is out of place. You know every spot that humans walk or don't walk, because you smell where they've been and not been. You know, okay, it's warm in the afternoon. The thermal is going to come up this way when the west wind is there. I'm going to bed right in this little pocket. And then when the thermal starts to change a little bit or the sun drops a little bit, I'm just going to go around the corner 40 yards. And I know the wind is. And
it's
so
amazing how they know where they're going to be safe. And it's not by luck.
No.
They don't take chances with their life. Like they know, hey, it's windy today. The wind's coming in from the west. Here's where I've got a bed today. It's not my normal spot. Here's where I'm going. I can't tell you how many times this archery season we would have a bugle. We'd be dropping down on it. The thermals are coming up perfect. We'd get on the ridge and drop over 100 yards from the elk, and all of a sudden the thermals would just naturally shift and pull right down. It's like he knows. He knows that we're going to feel safe coming down there, and as soon as we step over and get close to him, he's got us. And they just find those pockets that are conducive to them staying alive.
Yeah, and the ones that don't figure that out, they're in someone's freezer. Yeah, they got a victory lap. So you're dealing with a really, really smart animal. And I don't hunt as aggressively in the post-rut as I do in the late season. Like I'm going to do a lot of glassing from a small area, and I'm glassing further away. Because if I see that bull, I'm probably not going to get there in time. So he's probably going to go to his bed. But now I've ID'd him. I'm like, okay, there's not snow on the ground, so I can't see tracks, but I saw a bull there. That morning or that afternoon, I'm going to work my way over there and try to get in a position so when he comes out that afternoon or that evening, maybe I'll get my chance. Sometimes you see him in the evening, and it's like, I'm never going to get over there. But in the morning, he's going to be somewhere nearby there unless humans or predators, I guess humans are predators, have bumped him. And so if ever there's a time you need to be comfortable navigating in the dark, it's in the post-rut period. You can't leave your truck or the trailhead right at prime shooting light. By the time you get back to where they're at, they're in nightmare number 3 already. I mean, they've been bedded for an hour by the time you get there. So you really got to be comfortable navigating in the dark. And I say that not just going in, but coming out. Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of scouting. If you can get there and you spot a bull 2 days before season opens, you can now put a track on your GPS that gives you the quietest, easiest, wind-friendly route to get in there, or you track it on your way out. Because maybe on the way in you're wandering, but on your way out, you are mentally thinking, all right, what's going to be the easiest way for me to get in here in the dark opening morning? And there's a ton of benefit to that. And, the other part of that is trying to anticipate hunting pressure.
Yeah. I know you've talked about using hunting pressure to your advantage. How do you take advantage of the sea of orange that is coming up the mountain behind you?
Yeah. First of all, get the mattress off your back and be the first guy up there. I mean, I have left the trailhead at some ridiculously stupid times in rifle season, not in archery season because it's a different game. Yeah. But in rifle season, I want to be up on that mountain and see all those headlights driving to the trailhead. I'm like, got those guys whipped today. So you use hunting pressure in that respect. You know that usually the elk are going to go further away from that hunting pressure or go higher from that hunting pressure. And you kind of know where it's going to come from. The other part, how I use hunting pressure, is the time of day and the time of week and the time of the season. Elk know that right away in the morning, there's going to be a ton of pressure. There's less pressure in the afternoon every time. Every day. When they've measured it, there's marked declines in hunting pressure in the afternoon compared to the morning. Yeah. So if the big surge comes in the morning and the bull is just like, I'm hanging tight, man, he might let his guard down a little bit in the afternoon. If it's a 10-day season, we also know that the pressure the first 2 days is going to be way more than the pressure the last 2 days. So by the last 2 days, those elk are going to be pushed to different sanctuaries in places that are further, harder, more difficult. But once they get there, they're probably going to stay there because they're not going to get messed with. And then also the day of the week. Saturday and Sunday are the peak hunting pressure of any season is Saturday morning. Yeah. kind of stays there for Saturday afternoon, a little less. Sunday morning, another peak. Sunday evening, everyone's got to get ready to go back to work. Monday, Tuesday, by Thursday and Friday, they're like, maybe season's over already. And so there's ways you can use that to your advantage. And then for me, I hunt a lot of boundaries. People, and you got to be careful on how you do it. And in rifle season, I'm way more comfortable hunting boundaries than I am in archery season because it's quick follow-up shots and everything like that. But, you take that half mile on either side of a public-private boundary. Most people don't want to screw with that. The private guy, they're like, don't go hunt the boundary because you might push them over to the public and those guys will shoot them. And the public guys are like, if I shot one and he went over there, so there's these little
buffer zone.
Exactly. And so I a lot of times will just use those as the places where I'm going to spend the day. Okay, I'm done glassing. It looks, I haven't seen anything this morning. I'm going to go burn some time. I'm going to find a trail or find an opening or find something. And I'm probably going to spend my afternoon when I'm not napping, watching those kind of places. And the whole idea is, how do I use the behavior of the elk in a highly pressured area to my advantage?
And that's one of the things, you always hear people say the elk just disappear after opening day.
Yeah.
The same number of elk, other than the ones that got killed, are still there in the woods. Mm-hmm. And they didn't disappear. And they still have to eat, and they still have to drink.
Yep.
So they're just doing it in a different place that's harder to see them do it and harder to get to.
Yeah. And they will do as much of it at night as they can. The studies they have on these collared elk, that they collar them throughout the whole, from say September 1st through the end of December. They are way more active during the day in September and early October. Their most sedentary period, the time they're true couch potatoes, is about 2 or 3 weeks towards the end of October. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of that is they've been taught and they've learned that. Pete, he wasn't paying good attention. He got up and went for a stroll one day at 2 in the afternoon and
didn't come back.
So
if you find a sanctuary and there's a bull in there, mm-hmm. is he likely to just hunker down in there and let you walk 100 yards above him and know you're there, rather than if you do it in September, they're going to bust out and take mm-hmm. off running. But now they know if they run out of that safe place, they're a target, albeit a moving target, but they're a target now. Yeah. So are they more likely to just hunker there and let you walk right by them and you don't even know they're there?
They are. And part of that is they understand that any type of transport or movement increases the likelihood of getting shot. They're going to encounter fewer predators and people if they stay stationary versus if they're moving. If they get a big whiff of you and they think, hey, this guy's
imminent danger,
you're gonna swear they're a mountain goat. The way that they can gain elevation, the places they will go through is just astounding. And that's why I say I don't hunt super aggressive, because if I do get too close and I blow that up, he's going to take off somewhere. I'm never going to catch up to him that day, and that night he's going somewhere else.
And you might not ever find where that somewhere else is.
Right. And, if these are limited entry units, or you're on a private ranch or something, which if you have access to that, go do it.
Yep.
Those elk aren't going to experience near the hunting pressure. And so their behavior change from peak rut to post-rut is not going to be as dramatically changed as what we see with highly pressured public land elk. Just, that's their learned behavior.
Yep.
Those who didn't figure it out aren't here anymore. So if you do get a little bit of snow, that's a game changer. Even if you don't, if it doesn't move the elk, you're seeing tracks. Even if the snow melts off that afternoon, but that morning you're glassing. A lot of times I'm just glassing tracks, and you can tell so much from tracks. Yeah. Like if you see 30 sets of tracks going across a hillside, those are cows and calves. There might be a younger bull in there. And if you see a track or a group of tracks and they're lined out, guess what? They're on the move somewhere, and just when they're walking, they're going 4 or 5 miles an hour. So if they've just walked for an hour, they're 4 miles away. Yeah. So if you see a single track or 3 or 4 tracks that's kind of meandering in the snow, now it's like, all right.
Watch that hill.
Exactly. This guy is looking for a place to bed. He's got a sanctuary nearby. He's testing the wind. He's trying to figure out what's going on. I will sit there for 2 or 3 days because I know there's a bull in there. Might not see him. Maybe it'll be the 3rd day or 4th day when I see him. But I don't leave elk to find elk.
How do you manage the 12 hours of daylight when the elk aren't moving?
Boring as all get out.
Stay out on the hill?
Yeah. I mean, I usually am hunting with somebody. Yeah. And we, I usually have camera guys with me. And we don't have shifts on a time clock. But it's like, hey, man, I'm tired. I want to take a nap. And I'll sleep for 2 hours, but I know someone else is keeping their eye on things. Now, sometimes it might get ridiculously cold. I remember one year we had an opening weekend here in Montana. It got like 15 below zero. Yeah. And if I have to, I'll build a little fire just so I can stay all day. Because if I leave at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I waved the surrender flag right at the wrong time. So if I got to build a little fire to make that work, I'll do that. But mentally, that's why I think archers have so much more fun than rifle hunters. Yeah. Because
you can hunt all day.
Yeah. In archery season, it's like, well, I don't see anything here. Let's go over the next ridge and bugle there. And whereas you could do that in rifle season, but you're probably just going to run into another group of hunters and another group of hunters. And
so, take a chance of blowing out the bull that might be hiding in there.
Yep. So it's a glassing game. And that's why I feel bad for those guys and gals who live in northwest Montana. There I'd be looking at the edge of clear cuts, because anything that's a canopy disruption, avalanche shoots, small burns, logging, thinning, maybe there's a natural little opening there where it's a wet spot or whatever. I'm watching those edges and hoping that they come out and give me enough time to get there. Because these stories or these magazine pictures you see or website pictures, these great big beautiful basins up in the high Colorado Rockies. There aren't any rifle elk seasons that I know of, at least in the Post-Rut, where those elk are just standing around out there. They might come and feed on the fringe in the morning or in the evening, but very, very
seldom. Go hang out in the middle of the meadow and wait till 10 o'clock and bed down there.
Yeah. I mean, you might see some video of that on a private ranch, but not the kind of elk that we're talking about.
No.
So
peak ruts right now. Mm-hmm. September 28th, I think this is probably, the last 5 days, the next 5 days, cows are being bred. This is the peak estrus.
Yep. Yeah. Conception is happening as we speak.
Yep. So there's a second rut. Mm-hmm. Cows that don't get bred right now, they cycle again in 28 days.
Yep.
So can there be a flurry of activity in late October?
Yeah, there can. And that's why sometimes I will hunt the last 5 days of October versus the first 5 days of the post-rut. You start getting some of these cows, or say it's a 1.5-year old heifer where she just, she missed or whatever. When one of those do come into cycle, every bull on the mountain is like, hey, this might be my last chance for 10 months. And some of those bulls will leave those sanctuaries, and you'll hear them.
So big bulls, mature bulls, young bulls, everybody's coming to the party.
Yeah. And the good news is, where that one cow is, because every bull there is bragging and blowing and carrying on. I think about, I see this a lot and maybe it's because they're more limited entry tags, but like in eastern Montana, central Wyoming, more prairie elk or non-migratory elk like you see in New Mexico or somewhere. These bulls just find these cows that are coming into that second cycle. And they go through a moment of temporary insanity.
Second rut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about my son, his first elk. We went in, we did the old trick, show up 3 days early, scouted 2 days before season, and I hear this bull bugle, and I walk over there, and I'm like, holy cow, what's he doing? Well, he had a young cow down there that she was, something was a foul there, or something was amiss. Well, the next day, the day before season, I show up the next morning, and there's 3 bulls in there. And then opening morning, we show up, and this guy's, he's announcing to the world that, if I die today, it'll be worth it. Well, he died that day. And then getting to how late it goes, my son and I, we shot 2 bulls out of the same herd that were bugling like crazy on Halloween.
Yep.
And we hear reports every year. People are like, yeah, it was November 10th, and I heard some bugling. Yeah, because one of those cows, or, you look at a herd of 50 cows, there's a good chance that one of them is,
and usually
is
probably more than one.
Yeah. And so if you hear bugling that time of year, I used to discount it. I'm like, some nuthead out here. Can you believe some guy's walking around bugling on
Especially
October
that much.
25th?
He's bugled 6 times in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah. But the good part is, because I'm such an early bird in rifle season, I will hear that in the dark.
Yeah.
And I'll start moving towards that. I'm like, okay, I know this is a sanctuary over here, but it sounds like the dude who owns this sanctuary is over there. And, sometimes you'll go there and it'll be a younger bull, but sometimes it'll be those older bulls too.
Yep.
And that's for me, that's probably why I hunt in the post-rut period more towards the end of it than I do at the beginning. Now, sometimes it's like, well, this is the season dates I drew the tag for. I am going to go there. I'm probably going to scout 3 days and hunt 3 days. And
So you're willing to give up 3 days of hunting season to put it in ahead of time in scouting.
Right. Because not only am I trying to find a bull, I'm trying to anticipate where's everyone else going to be. And
you're going to see that increase over those 3 days.
Right. And, a lot of people observe that we use llamas a lot. Well, I'm not the backpack hunter that I was when I was 35. And so my ability to separate from where the majority of the pressure is going to be is enhanced by using llamas.
Yeah.
I can haul a camp in there. I don't worry if I shoot one 6 or 7 miles back because I'm not carrying it out. So, and I know not everybody can do that, but if you have horses or you have an arrangement, somebody that'll allow you to hunt further from everybody else. And a lot of people are like, all you talk about is way back. No, I'm talking about sanctuaries.
Yeah. It might be close.
Right. Like the spot I've shot 2 bulls in Colorado, I can hear car doors slamming. I can hear ATVs buzzing down below me. But the first half-hour climb is ugly and steep.
Yep.
It's blow down but once you get up there, it benches out. And the elk have figured out, there's only a few knuckleheads who want to walk up here. And so it's not always 5 miles away or 3 miles away. It's just where they feel comfortable based on all the factors that we talked about. Yep. And then we get into the non-migratory elk, Arizona, New Mexico, possibly the plains elk of Montana and Wyoming, southern Idaho, those elk, some of them don't migrate a lot. Nevada, maybe, southern Utah, maybe. Those bulls are doing the same thing, but their sanctuaries don't overlook canyons, don't overlook places that are just a little bit greener nearby. And it's greener not because of the soil or anything else. It's just little pockets of rain in the monsoon. And if you've had a really good moisture year, the whole place looks green.
Yeah.
I hate it when it's like that. Everyone's like,
water sources
antler.
Everywhere. There's feed everywhere.
Yeah. And so those non-migratory elk are still going to be concentrated in places away from people. Canyons, rock piles, just, Distance and topography probably are more of an issue with non-migratory elk. They're not going to get the weather that moves them around.
Yeah.
But also, once you find them, especially if it's a function of distance and topography, they're probably not going to move. Be patient, wait until the wind's right, and just get within that range and dump him.
Make it sound easy.
Well, if it was that easy, I'd have a lot more bulls on the wall. But it's a hard time. That's the challenge. You know, you guys in Idaho, I think any hunting in November, all you guys have are limited entry draws,
yeah.
right? Same with Wyoming, pretty much. It's all
most of our seasons are like October 15th through November 2nd or 3rd, somewhere in there. And I think, last year Isaac's fiance Lindsay hadn't shot an elk, and so we said we're gonna spend some time and get Lindsay a rifle bull.
Yeah.
And the way you've described it is exactly how we saw the season go. Archery season, there were bulls bugling in this drainage. There was rut activity going on. The day before rifle season opened, there were bugles still in there. I thought, okay, we're going to be here opening morning. We went opening morning and there wasn't a bugle. Yeah. Didn't hear a bugle. Like, how do they know it's opening morning? But they just shut off.
Right.
And from there, it took us 3 or 4 days to find the elk. Mm-hmm. And once we found them, they were on the nastiest, brushiest north face, about a half a mile off of a private border, about a half a mile off of a logging area, and they weren't moving.
Perfect.
And we just happened to see a young bull and I think 4 cows that he was with, and we watched them that day and the next day, and then Lindsay could hunt the following day, and got out there and they weren't there. We sat and watched that hillside all day, and they weren't there. And we went back 3 or 4 times and never saw them again. And then it was November 1st or 2nd, I think. We went back, got a little snow, and walking up the hill and could hear antlers banging together, and pretty soon heard bugles. And there was a herd of 30 cows and 3 or 4 bulls fighting, started bugling. And so, I mean, almost that exact progression you talked about, where they tuck away, if they get bumped out of there, they disappear and you don't find them again. Yeah. And then it takes a weather event or a migration or cow comes into heat, and then things change. But until then,
it's tough.
Elk are tough to find.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, how do they know that it's opening day? Well, they hear a lot more vehicles on the roads. They hear car doors slamming. The woods smell a lot different because there's people walking around. They see headlights down there in the dark. What's going on in September? Usually those guys aren't showing up here until right about daylight. And they just know.
Yep. There's just a different feeling.
Yeah. And
you can sense a change.
Yeah. So they just say, hey, I want to make it through another day. And if I make it till dark, other than if a wolf or a lion get me, I got it made. And then the next morning when it starts getting light again, they're like, I just got to make it another 10 hours.
Yep.
And I know people are like, that's too simple.
That's all they do. They eat, they sleep, and they stay alive.
Yeah. So for those people who get to hunt late season, like the Arizona late rifle hunts are all usually start right after Thanksgiving. That's way easier hunting than the post-rut. Montana, the last half of our rifle season, way easier than the post-rut. Colorado, I'd rather hunt the 3rd or 4th season than the 2nd season, because now we're in the late season period, not in that really, really difficult post-rut period. And pretty much every state you look at, Utah, their late rifle hunts are in November. Nevada, late rifle hunts are in November. I'm glad they are, because I'd rather hunt them in November than the last half of October.
But you look at the states that provide opportunity. Opportunity hunts are during the most difficult time, because that's the lowest chance of success.
Right.
Gives you the opportunity to put the most hunters in the field and not impact the population of the elk. And so that's, if there's a rifle, an over-the-counter general rifle season, you can bet it's going to be tough hunting.
Yep.
Like, it's just not going to be during the time when it's easy to find elk.
Yeah. And one other thing that I do to use hunting pressure to my advantage that I think I forgot to mention is if it's like, and this is Colorado in particular, if I can get up to certain places where I know there's old historic trails, or I'm seeing a lot of tracks in the snow and whatever, and it's like, okay, down in that valley there's a trailhead, and this valley over here there's a trailhead, but there's like a little saddle, or there's a little pocket, or the back of a basin there, I will try to be there before the sun comes up. And inevitably, there's some energetic guys who are just like the Tasmanian devil, bouncing around everywhere, but they're bumping elk. And a lot of times I'll see those elk moving at 8 or 9 in the morning, heading for another sanctuary. And if you're the one who's already back there instead of the guy doing the bumping, that's another chance for you.
Yeah. So. And when elk move, are they taking the fastest route to that next sanctuary, or are they sticking to the thick stuff? Like if you were going to go up and set up in a saddle, are you anticipating them staying hidden while they move? Or are you anticipating them just going in a straight line and getting there?
If they've been bumped hard, they're just going in a straight line for the first mile or two. I was like, if you see someone who's bumped elk and you see the direction they're headed, try to get, if you've got the elevation on them, just try to get in front of them. Because whatever route they're going at least for a mile or two. And then they'll be like, all right, we better slow down and get our faculties about us here, or we might walk into an ambush. And so then they'll usually try to use cover. And
start using the wind a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, in the heavily timbered areas, well, yeah, they're moving, and they're moving through the timber. So it's really tough hunting. I don't know how guys in these heavily timbered areas hunt elk in the Post-Rut.
I think, like you said, they know where those sanctuaries are, and they know how the elk react to pressure just from hunting it. Going into an area blind or for the first time, trying to pattern a mature bull elk in the Post-Rut,
yeah,
it's a tall order.
Yeah, I would say if you're a traveling elk hunter, going to a place where local landscape knowledge is so critical, say like northern Idaho, northwest Montana, you are really signing up for something, or you really feel lucky. Those guys who are successful in those spots, they might be loggers working out there, or they're a forester. They're somebody who is out on that landscape all the time. They probably have invested 10 years in this little pocket,
or their grandparents hunted that same pocket.
Right. Yeah. So those are really, really hard places to come in green. You don't have as humans, our number one advantage we have is vision, right? Especially with binoculars, we can see. And so if you are a traveling elk hunter and you don't have that local landscape knowledge, maybe think about areas that are more conducive to glassing.
Yeah.
That's going to balance the scale for you a little bit. And I'll admit, I don't spend a lot. I've never elk hunted in regions 1 and 2 of Montana, which is the northwest part. I have never hunted elk in Idaho north of the Snake River. I take that back. One time. But why? Because I'm not familiar with the terrain. And if I don't have some knowledge or can't go with somebody who has that knowledge, I am really stacking the deck against me.
Yeah.
So that's a reality of it. I don't know. I wish.
And we get, people emailing or something and saying, hey, I had number 40,000 in the Idaho debacle and there was only 3 units left and I got one. It's one of those units. Yeah. It's the Panhandle zone. It's the Selway zone. It's one of those that is just heavily timbered, where there are lower populations and densities of elk.
Yep.
And the ability to find an elk in that, especially if you've never been there before, is, I wouldn't say it's impossible.
No,
but it's impossible.
Yeah, you've probably made a donation.
Yeah. But with that being said, you're out elk hunting.
Right,
you're learning,
exactly.
And maybe you find something that next year you can, take
Right.
6 days off your season, and now you go right to that spot and narrow it down from there.
Yeah, and that's why I tell people, if you are a rifle hunter and most of your opportunities are going to exist in the Post-Rut, try to find a place that's easy to get a tag where you can go year after year after year. So after the 5th or 6th year, your knowledge level isn't too far behind what the locals have.
Yeah.
And go to school on that. and know that the first couple of years are really going to be frustrating. But that's, that's the opportunity that's available to us.
Yeah.
And so I hope that helps people. It's so tough. I now that I'm sitting here having to answer all the questions, I'm now having some appreciation for grilling you, because the answers are kind of the general answer, but there's an exception to everything. Okay, it was 40-mile-an-hour wind that day. Well, I would have done something different. We're talking about the normal temperatures, the normal conditions, the normal everything else. But there's always going to be an exception.
Yeah. A 370 bull that leaves a herd of cows on October 20th and comes into your call. Like, don't count on that, but you hear a story that, if you're in the right place at the right time, weird things happen. But generally speaking, don't count on a lot of bugling action.
Yeah.
Don't count on seeing a lot of elk.
Mm-hmm.
Better be prepared at first light and last light.
Yeah. And everything we've talked about, I've been referring to mature bulls.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people come out and cow elk hunt. Well, if you're coming out and cow elk hunting in the Post-Rut, we're talking about a completely different game, because it's still about the food. And the food that they're going to be looking for is what's the best food on the mountain that day or on the landscape that day. It's going to be any place where there's a canopy opening with less snow, with more moisture, burns, thinnings, logging operations, and they're going to be way more consistent and far easier to pattern. They're not solo. They're still in groups. They may not be in these groups of 40 or 50 like they were in the peak rut. They might be in groups of 5 to 12 or something, but way easier to hunt cow elk in the Post-Rut than it is bull elk. And that's another really good option. If you can come out here to whatever state it might be and cow elk hunt 2 years, and then third year you get a bull tag and do it that way, what you're learning on that cow elk hunt is invaluable for the time when you eventually get that bull tag.
Or if you do have a bull tag, there might be immature bulls or spikes, if that's legal in that area, with the cows. Yeah. And so you don't have to go and find that mature bull sanctuary. Now you're hunting quite a bit differently.
Yeah, if I said, and still there's a lot of times where if I see a raghorn or whatever is legal, I'm in a bad day for that guy.
That's right.
But I hunt those just like I do cows in the Post-Rut.
Find the feed.
Yeah, find the feed. And they're like, oh, maybe these big old boys are going to leave me alone for a while. This one gal, I've really had my eye on her. And so they'll be more visible. They'll be goofier. And that's why the first 5 bulls I shot were all raghorns, because I didn't know I had to hunt mature bulls differently than cows. So once I started finding cows, I'm like, there's got to be bulls here. Well, there were all 2.5-year-old bulls. And it took me a while to understand that there's a different way that you hunt a mature bull in the Post-Rut than there is a younger bull. Yeah. Which, nothing wrong with that. I mean, totally. Any elk is a great elk. So, but Post-Rut is, you're going to earn it. Those of you who do it consistently successful, you've figured something out.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyhow.
Awesome.
Are we going to get around to a late season one?
We'd better.
We better?
We'd better.
All right.
Oh.
Well, that's kind of easy. The late season one we can do in 10 minutes. Get yourself some warm clothes, get yourself a butt pad, get comfortable, and just glass.
Well, we'll go a little bit more. We'll go into some more detail in the next episode.
So, all right, Corey.
Well, this is good. Archery is kind of, it changes so much in September. Mm-hmm. There's so many changes that happen. It's just like it's dead, it turns on, it gets really crazy, and then it dies.
Yep.
So, I mean, you've got to break it into a lot of sections. Post-rut, late season, there's really 2 transitions there with the opening day anomaly on the front end of it.
Yep. And once the bulls bachelor up and you're in that late season, they stay out later, they come out earlier, they're more visible, they need feed, so they aren't in the worst of the worst sanctuaries. So that's, for me, that's when I say we're done with the Post-Rut and go into this late season period.
Different tactics, different strategies. So, okay. Well, we'll touch on that in the next episode.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't lead anyone astray. I probably did, but
well, I'll tell you, I I grew up archery hunting, and we always had the option to hunt rifle afterwards. And I still carried my bow from the time I was 12 until college. I would hunt the rifle season with my bow. It was an any weapon season because I wanted to kill an elk with a bow so badly, and I didn't kill my first elk until I was 21.
Wow.
And I know I could have killed several elk had I been packing a rifle,
Right.
but I didn't.
Yeah.
And then I just literally archery hunted after that because Idaho changed about then to you had to pick, kind of choose your weapon, A tag or a B tag, and I focused on archery. And so when my kids started hunting, they got to, in Idaho, they allow them to hunt both tags, A tag and B tag. So they get archery season and rifle season.
Yeah.
And so rifle season comes along, and I didn't have a clue how to find an elk without a bugle tube. And it took some calls to you, and it took some time out in the field and I'm still, like I said last year, we spent almost 3 weeks out there trying to find elk, and they just change. They're hard to find. That second half of October, they go from being everywhere to being non-existent, it seems like.
Yeah. So if you know why I'm still antelope hunting in October and I'm not too worked up about being in the elk woods if I have a tag with a longer season, is because I know how tough the post-rut is. Yeah. And another thing that plays into this with traveling elk hunters, a lot of them come from whitetail states. And they want to hunt the whitetail rut in November, whether it's with a rifle or a bow. So they schedule their hunts to be here October 15th through the 30th.
Yeah.
Well, that puts most of the non-resident pressure in there at the same time also. Yeah. And I'm like, have at it, boys. So there's a lot of things that I guess over time you kind of just pick up little bits and pieces here. But, you did your full elk class with the University of Elk Hunting out there at outdoor class. If folks want to go out there and sign up, there is a rifle elk hunting class. It goes into way more detail than what we're going to cover in these two podcasts. And if they want to save some money, Elk Talk 15 is a promo code they can do if they go to. And
that gets it down to what, $50 or $59 or something?
Yeah, it starts at $60 and then they get 15% off. So it gets it down under $50, I think. And so
that's a pretty inexpensive investment
in your elk hunting knowledge.
Just when we're talking about all of these nuances and all of these different things that are taking place, to be able to just absorb some of that and get for me, like I said, I didn't come from a really experienced rifle background, and there's a steep learning curve there.
Yeah,
you can figure it out once, especially if coming from an archery background, recognizing the changes that take place, where they come from before the rut. Sometimes they go back to those same staging areas where they spend, where the bulls break up from their bachelor groups, higher in the mountains. They go to these staging areas, then they drop down for the rut.
Yep.
A lot of times they'll go back to those same bedrooms, I call them, and that's where you find them post-rut. So there's some things that apply there, but finding elk is so much more difficult for me if they aren't bugling. It's almost frustrating because with a bugle tube, there's an elk right there that I can kill today.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is if you do find one with a rifle in your hand, you should get that thing killed.
Yeah.
It just, post-rut and especially late season, if you find a bull and it's rifle season, it's way, way easier to get that bull to wear your tag than it is in archery season. So
to a degree, but again, those elk know that Charlie hung out over there on that ridge and he's not with us anymore. I'm going to go up the canyon a little bit because I can't tell you how many times I've seen elk at 1,000 or 1,200 yards with no physical way to get to them and get closer without getting 100 yards from them, which they bed there for that reason, that there's no way you can get in until you get in tight, and then they smell you or hear you and they just move out. And
there's a place here in southwest Montana where I know by late October there are going to be bulls in this one spot. And a lot of times I'll have friends like, man, we've been here, we have not seen an elk. I'm like, I can tell you where there's going to be some. Really? Where?
We're going to get a bunch of emails now. Where's that spot Randy's talking about?
And so I send them there, and I have yet to have one of them want an elk that bad. You can glass them from the highway.
No.
But it looks steep from the highway. I've given up on many elk up there. I start getting up there. I'm like, no, I don't need one this bad. So yeah, it for me, those kind of things show me how adaptable an elk is in the Post-Rut, especially a bull elk, the places they will go and that they can make a living for, 10 days, 2 weeks is impressive.
Yep.
And, don't email us and say, where's that spot? Because I'm not going to tell you, but I've told enough friends who, come here from out of state and to this state. All of them are like, what do I look like, a mountain goat? I'm like, well, you told me you wanted to see some elk. Yeah. But they're there every year. And I don't know anyone's ever killed one up there.
No. I'm
never going to kill one up there. If I was going to kill one up there, I was going to be when I was 30.
Must have been where you sent me a couple of years ago. I still remember that trip.
It wasn't too far from there.
Yeah. Seemed like a good area to send somebody you don't like.
Yeah. Oh, I like you, Corey. Come on, man. I thought I was helping you. But anyhow, appreciate you coming up.
Yeah.
Hope you guys have a great hunt.
You too.
And maybe when I get back from my trip, late October or mid-October, we'll sit down and we'll do the late season one.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Okay. Folks, thanks for listening.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Hope your tags are already filled, or if not, I hope they get filled.